WWE, World Wrestling Entertainment, Inc., doing business as WWE, is an American professional wrestling promotion, a global integrated media and entertainment company. WWE has also branched out into other fields, including film, American football, and various other business ventures. The company is additionally involved in licensing its intellectual property to companies to produce video games and action figures. American Professional Wrestling and Entertainment Company Promotion was founded in 1953 as the Capital Wrestling Corporation. It is the largest wrestling promotion in the world, with its main roster divided up into two primary touring groups, along with a developmental roster based in Orlando, Florida, referred to by WWE as brands. Overall, WWE is available in more than 1 billion homes worldwide in 30 languages. The company's global headquarters is located in Stamford, Connecticut, with offices in New York, Los Angeles, Mexico City, Mumbai, Shanghai, Singapore, Dubai, and Munich. And other professional wrestling promotions. WWE shows are not legitimate contests but entertainment-based performance theater, featuring storyline-driven, scripted, and partially choreographed matches. However, matches often include moves that can put performers at risk of injury, even death, if not performed correctly. The predetermined aspect of professional wrestling was publicly acknowledged by its owner Vince McMahon in 1989 in order to avoid taxes from athletic commissions. WWE brands its product as sports entertainment, acknowledging wrestling's roots in competitive sport and dramatic theater. The company's majority owner is its executive chairman, third-generation wrestling promoter Vince McMahon, who retains a percentage ownership of the company's outstanding stock and a percentage of the voting power. The current entity, which was originally named Titan Sports, Inc., was incorporated on February 21, 1980, in South Yarmouth, Massachusetts. It acquired Capital Wrestling Corporation Limited, the holding company for the World Wrestling Federation (WWF), previously known as the Worldwide Wrestling Federation (WWF). In 1982, Titan was renamed World Wrestling Federation Entertainment, Inc. in 1999, and then World Wrestling Entertainment, Inc. in 2002. Since 2011, the company has branded itself solely with the initials WWE, though the legal name has not changed since 2002. Company history. Main article. History of Main article. Capital Wrestling Corporation's origins can be traced back as far as the years when, on January 7, 1953, the first show under the Capital Wrestling Corporation (CWC) was produced. There is uncertainty as to who the founder of the CWC was. Some sources state that it was Vincent J. McMahon, while other sources cite McMahon's father Jess McMahon as founder of CWC. The CWC later joined the National Wrestling Alliance, NWA, and famous New York promoter Toots Mott soon joined the promotion. Vincent J. McMahon with Vern Gagne and Bruno Sammartino in Vincent J. McMahon and Toots Mott were very successful and soon controlled approximately a percentage of the NWA's booking power, largely due to their dominance in the heavily populated northeastern United States. In 1963, McMahon and Mott had a dispute with the NWA over Nature Boy Buddy Rogers being booked to hold the NWA World Heavyweight Championship. Mott and McMahon were not only promoters but also acted as his manager and were accused by other NWA promoters of withholding Rogers making defenses in their cities versus only defending in Mott and McMahon's own cities, thus maintaining a monopoly on the world title. In a now infamous situation, the NWA sent former five-time world champion and legitimate wrestler Lou Thesz to Toronto to face Rogers on January 24, 1963. Thesz recalls this was not planned and prior to the match remembered telling Buddy, "We can do this the easy way or the hard way." Rogers agreed to lose the fall title in a one-fall match versus the traditional 2 out of 3 fall matchup that most world title matches were defended. Once word reached back to Mott and McMahon, At first they simply ignored the title change. From January until April 1963, Rogers was promoted as the NWA World Champion, or simply the World Heavyweight Champion, in their area. The Worldwide Wrestling Federation WWF was not an immediate creation after Rogers's one-fall loss to Thesh. Mont and McMahon both eventually left the NWA in protest and formed the WWF in the process. They brought along with them Willie Gilzenberg, longtime boxing and wrestling promoter in New Jersey. In April 1963, the WWF World Heavyweight Championship was created, with the promotion claiming that inaugural champion Rogers had won a tournament in Rio de Janeiro on April 25, 1963, defeating longtime Capital Sports favorite Antonino Rocca in the finals. In reality, Rocca was no longer in the area, as he was working for Jim Crockett Sr. in the Carolinas. Rogers also had already suffered what would later be a career-ending heart attack on April 18 in Akron, Ohio, and was in an Ohio hospital during the time the alleged tournament took place. Rogers lost the championship to Bruno Sammartino a month later on May 17, with the promotion beginning to be built around Sammartino shortly after. In June 1963, Gilzenberg was named the first president of the WWF. Mont left the promotion in the late years, and although the WWF had previously withdrawn from the NWA, McMahon quietly rejoined in 1971. The WWF was renamed to the World Wrestling Federation WWF in Vincent J. McMahon's son, Vincent K. McMahon, and his wife Linda established Titan Sports, Inc. in 1980 in South Yarmouth, Massachusetts, and applied trademarks for the initials WWF. The company was incorporated on February 21, 1980, in the Cape Cod Coliseum offices, then moved to the building on Holly Hill Lane in Greenwich, Connecticut. Main article, or his professional wrestling boom. Vince McMahon, the owner of the WWE since 1982. He was the chairman and CEO until Younger McMahon bought capital from his father in 1982, effectively seizing control of the company. The actual date of sale is still unknown, but the generally accepted date is June 6, 1982. However, this was likely only the date the deal was struck but not finalized. On WWF television, Capital Wrestling Corporation maintained copyrights, and ownership past the June 1982 date. The World Wrestling Federation was not solely owned by Vincent J. McMahon but also by Gorilla Monsoon, Arnold Scotland, and Phil Zacco. The deal between the two McMahons was a monthly payment basis where if a single payment was missed, ownership would revert to the elder McMahon and his business partners. Looking to seal the deal quickly, McMahon took several loans and deals with other promoters and the business partners, including the promise of a job for life, in order to take full ownership by May or June 1983 for an estimated total of roughly $1 million, with the three business partners receiving roughly $815,000 among them, and Vincent J. McMahon receiving roughly $185,000. Seeking to make the WWF the premier wrestling promotion in the country and eventually the world, he began an expansion process that fundamentally changed the wrestling business. At the annual meeting of the NWA in 1983, the McMahons and former Capital employee Jim Barnett all withdrew from the organization. McMahon also worked to get WWF programming on syndicated television all across the United States. This angered other promoters and disrupted the well-established boundaries of the different wrestling promotions, eventually ending the territory system, which was in use since the founding of the NWA in the years. In addition, the company used income generated by advertising, television deals, and tape sales to secure talent from rival promoters, to which McMahon discussed in an interview with Sports Illustrated. McMahon was quoted as saying, "In the old days, there were wrestling fiefdoms all over the country, each with its own little lord in charge. Each little lord respected the rights of his neighboring little lord. No takeovers or raids were allowed. There were maybe 30 of these tiny kingdoms in the U.S., and if I hadn't bought out my dad, there would still be 30 of them, fragmented and struggling. I, of course, had no allegiance to those little lords." McMahon gained significant traction when he hired American Wrestling Association AWA talent Hulk Hogan, who had achieved popularity outside of wrestling, Notably for his appearance in the film Rocky III, McMahon signed Roddy Piper as Hogan's rival, and then shortly afterward Jesse Ventura as an announcer. Other wrestlers joined the roster, such as the Iron Sheik, Nikolai Volkov, Junkyard Dog, Paul Orndorff, Greg Valentine, and Ricky Steamboat, joining existing stars such as Jimmy Snuka, Don Muraco, Slaughter, and Andre the Giant. Many of the wrestlers who would later join the WWF were former AWA or NWA talent. WWF would tour nationally in a venture that would require a huge capital investment, one that placed the WWF on the verge of financial collapse. The future of McMahon's experiment came down to the success or failure of McMahon's groundbreaking concept, WrestleMania. WrestleMania was a major success and was and still is marketed as the Super Bowl of professional wrestling. The concept of a wrestling supercard was nothing new in North America. The NWA had begun running Staircade a few years prior. In McMahon's eyes, however, what separated WrestleMania from other supercards was that it was intended to be accessible to those who did not watch wrestling. He invited celebrities such as Mr. T, Muhammad Ali, and Cyndi Lauper to participate in the event, as well as securing a deal with MTV to provide coverage. The event and hype surrounding it led to the term Rock and Wrestling Connection, due to the cross-promotion of popular culture and professional wrestling. WWF business expanded significantly on the shoulders of McMahon and his babyface hero Hulk Hogan for the next several years. The introduction of Saturday night's main event on NBC in 1985 marked the first time that professional wrestling had been broadcast on network television since the years when the now-defunct Dumont Television Network broadcast matches of Vincent J. McMahon's Capital Wrestling Corporation. The wrestling boom peaked with the WrestleMania II pay-per-view at the Pontiac Silverdome in 1987, which set an attendance record of 93,173, a record that stood for 29 years until WrestleMania 32, a rematch of the WrestleMania II main event between WWF champion Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant took place on the main event in 1988 and was seen by 33 million people. The most watched wrestling match in North American television history in 1983, Titan moved its offices to Stamford, Connecticut, though the current building was built and opened on May 13, 1991. Subsequently, a new Titan Sports, Inc., originally WWF, Inc., was established in Delaware in 1987 and was consolidated with the Massachusetts entity in February. Our main article, Monday Night Wars. WWF was hit with allegations of steroid abuse and distribution in 1992. This was followed by allegations of sexual harassment by WWF employees the following year. McMahon was eventually exonerated, but the allegations brought bad public relations for the WWF and an overall bad reputation. The steroid trial cost the company an estimated $5 million at a time of record low revenues. This helped drive many WWF wrestlers over to rival promotion World Championship Wrestling WCW, including babyface hero Hulk Hogan. During this period, the WWF promoted wrestlers of a younger age comprising the New Generation, featuring Shawn Michaels, Diesel, Razor Ramon, Bret Hart, and The Undertaker, in an effort to promote new talent into the spotlight. In January 1993, the WWF debuted its flagship cable program Monday Night Raw. WCW countered in September 1995 with its own Monday night program, Monday Nitro, which aired in the same time slot as Raw. The two programs would trade wins in the ensuing ratings competition known as the Monday Night Wars until mid-1996. At that point, Nitro began a nearly two-year ratings domination that was largely fueled by the introduction of the New World Order NWO, a stable led by former WWF performers Hulk Hogan, Scott Hall, the former Razor Ramon, and Kevin Nash, the former Diesel. Main article, Attitude Era. See also, Montreal Screwjobs. The Monday Night Wars continued between Raw is War and Nitro. The WWF would transform itself from a family-friendly product into a more adult-oriented product, known as the Attitude Era. The era was spearheaded by WWF VP Shane McMahon, son of owner Vince McMahon and head writer Vince Russo, ended with McMahon facing real-life controversy following Bret Hart's controversial departure from the company. dubbed as the Montreal Screwjob. This proved to be one of several founding factors in the launch of the Attitude Era, as well as the creation of McMahon's on-screen character, Mr. McMahon, therefore the Montreal Screwjob, which took place at the 1997 Survivor Series. Former WCW talent were being hired by the WWF, including Stone Cold Steve Austin, Mankind, and Vader. Austin was slowly brought in as the new face of the company despite being promoted as an intro, starting with his Austin 3:16 speech shortly after defeating Jake Roberts in the tournament finals at the King of the Ring pay-per-view in April 29, 1999. The WWF made its return to terrestrial television, airing a special program known as SmackDown on the fledgling UPN network. The Thursday night show became a weekly series on August 26, 1999, competing directly with Thursday night program titled Thunder on PS in the summer of 1999. Titan Sports, Inc. was renamed World Wrestling Federation Entertainment, Inc. on October 19, 1999. World Wrestling Federation Entertainment, Inc. launched an initial public offering as a publicly traded company, trading on the New York Stock Exchange NYSE with the issuance of stock then valued at $172.50 million. The company is traded on the NYSE under ticker symbol WMAIN. Article: The Invasion Professional Wrestling. By the fall of 1999, the Attitude Era had turned the tide of the Monday Night Wars into its favor. After Time Warner merged with America Online AOL, Ted Turner's control over WCW was considerably reduced, and the newly merged company announced a complete lack of interest in professional wrestling as a whole and decided to sell WCW in its entirety. Although Eric Bischoff, whom Time Warner fired as WCW president in October 1999, was nearing a deal to purchase the company, in March 2001 McMahon acquired the rights to its trademarks, tape library, contracts, and other properties from AOL Time Warner for a number reported to be around $7 million. Shortly after WrestleMania X7, the WWF launched the Invasion storyline, integrating the incoming talent roster from WCW and Extreme Championship Wrestling ECW. With this purchase, WWF now became by far the sole largest wrestling promotion in North America and in the world. The assets of ECW, which had folded after filing for bankruptcy protection in April 2001, were purchased by WWE in early 2000. The WWF, in collaboration with television network NBC, announced the creation of the XFL, a new professional football league that debuted in 2001. The league had high ratings for the first few weeks, but initial interest waned and its ratings plunged to dismally low levels. One of its games was the lowest-rated primetime show in the history of American television. NBC walked out on the venture after only one season, but McMahon intended to continue alone. However, after being unable to reach a deal with UPN, McMahon shut down the XFL. WWE maintained control of the XFL trademark before McMahon reclaimed the XFL brand, this time under a separate shell company from WWE, in 2017 with intent to relaunch the XFL in a June 24, 2002 episode of Raw. Vince McMahon officially referred to the start of the next era, called the Ruthless Aggression era. Chairwoman and CEO Stephanie McMahon Reich with her husband WWE CCO and head of creative Triple H left on May 6, 2002. The World Wrestling Federation WWF changed both its company name and the name of its wrestling promotion to World Wrestling Entertainment WWE after the company lost a lawsuit initiated by the World Wildlife Fund over the WWF trademark. Although mainly caused by an unfavorable ruling in its dispute with the World Wildlife Fund regarding the WWF initialism, the company noted it provided an opportunity to emphasize its focus on entertainment. Main articles: WWE brand extension and WWE draft. In March 2002, WWE decided to create two separate rosters, with each group of wrestlers appearing on one of their main programs, Raw and SmackDown, due to the overabundance of talent left over from the Invasion storyline. This was dubbed as the brand extension. Beginning in 2002, a draft lottery was held nearly every year to set the rosters, with the first draft to determine the inaugural split rosters and subsequent drafts designed to refresh the rosters of each show. WWE expanded the brand extension by relaunching ECW as a third brand on May 26, 2006. 2 years later, WWE adapted a more family-friendly format and their programming received a TV PG rating. The final ECW program aired on February 16, 2010, after which it was replaced with Kingston April 7, 2011. WWE, via the WWE corporate website, announced that the company was ceasing use of the full name World Wrestling Entertainment and would henceforth refer to itself solely as WWE, making the latter an orphan initialism. This was said to reflect was global entertainment expansion away from the ring, with the ultimate goal of acquiring entertainment companies and putting a focus on television, live events, and film production. WWE noted that their new company model was put into effect with the relaunch of Tough Enough, being a non-scripted program contrary to the scripted nature of professional wrestling, and with the launch of the WWE Network at the time scheduled to launch in 2012, later pushed back to 2014. However, the legal name of the company still remains as World Wrestling Entertainment. Beginning with the August 29, 2011 episode of Raw, it was announced that Raw would feature talent from both Raw and SmackDown and would be known as Raw Super Show. The Super Show suffix would be dropped on July 23, 2012. Championships previously exclusive to one show or the other were available for wrestlers from any show to compete for. The Super Show format would mark the end of the brand extension, as all programming and live events from when the original announcement was made until July 2016 featured the full WWE roster. In 2013, the company built the sports medicine and training facility WWE Performance Center in the East Orange County, Florida, in partnership with Full Sail University from Winter Park, Florida. The training facility is targeted at career and athletic development for the company's wrestlers. Full Sail is also home base to its NXT brand, which served as a developmental territory for WWE. Beginning in 2015, WWE started to push Roman Reigns as their face of the company, since having him win the 2015 Royal Rumble match amidst mixed reception. By 2017, Roman Reigns became their highest merchandise seller. Raw and SmackDown have been WWE's two main brands since the brand extension concept was first initiated in May 25, 2016. WWE announced a relaunch of the brand extension, billed as the New Era. Following the announcement, Raw and SmackDown now each feature their unique rosters, announcers, ring sets, ropes, and championships. A draft took place to determine which wrestlers would appear on what show. SmackDown also moved from Thursdays to Tuesday nights, which began on July 19, the night of the aforementioned draft, and airs live instead of the previous pre-recorded format. In November 29, 2016, WWE introduced a new program specifically for their cruiserweight division wrestlers 205 pounds and under, called WWE 205 Live. The program focuses exclusively on those wrestlers who qualify for the division. The cruiserweights, who first became a fixture in WWE with the Cruiserweight Classic tournament, were originally exclusive to the Raw brand at the onset of the 2016 brand extension, before landing their own brand in December 15, 2016. It was announced that WWE was establishing a new WWE United Kingdom Championship, with the winner being decided by a 16-man tournament to air on WWE Network, featuring wrestlers from the UK and Ireland. During January 2017, WWE executive Paul "Triple H" Levesque said the eventual plan with the new title and tournament was to establish a UK-based brand with its own weekly television show. WWE subsequently launched its UK-based brand as an offshoot of NXT UK in June 2018, with Johnny Saint serving as inaugural general manager. Starting in September 2019, NXT had a weekly, live, 2-hour show Wednesday nights on the USA Network, and WWE began promoting NXT as their third brand. However, in 2021, NXT was moved to Tuesday nights, having conceded the Wednesday Night Wars to rival promotion All Elite Wrestling (AEW), and in September of that year was reinstated to its original function as the developmental brand for the main roster Raw and SmackDown. under the name NXT. Further information: impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on sports. In March 2020, WWE began to be impacted by the American onset of the COVID-19 pandemic. In mid-March, 3 of the 4 major sports leagues had announced that they would close locker rooms to the media as a precautionary measure, as other sports cancellations and postponements were being announced. WWE officially announced on March 12 that its weekly programs, beginning with the following night's episode of SmackDown, would be filmed at the Performance Center without spectators, and with only essential staff present. The March 11 episode of NXT had been recorded at the Performance Center with paying fans, thus being was last event to have ticketed fans in attendance before the pandemic took full effect. WrestleMania 36 was scheduled to take place on April 5 at Raymond James Stadium in Tampa. On March 16, WWE announced that the event would also be held behind closed doors in Orlando. WrestleMania, as well as Raw and SmackDown for a period before and after WrestleMania, shifted from live broadcasts to a pre-recorded format. NXT continued to air from Full Sail University, but under similar restrictions. Live broadcasts returned on April 13, with the existing arrangements continuing. WWE stated to ISPCOM that we believe it is now more important than ever to provide people with a diversion from these hard times, and that the company's programming bring families together and deliver a sense of hope, determination, and perseverance. It was subsequently reported that Florida Governor Ron DeSantis had deemed WWE a business critical to the state's economy and had added an exception under the state's stay-at-home order for employees of a professional sports and media production that is closed to the public and has a national audience. The decision was met with criticism from media outlets, with several media outlets pointing out that DeSantis's actions happened on the same day a pro-Donald Trump political action committee led by Linda McMahon, who was previously a part of Trump's cabinet, pledged to spend $18.50 million in advertising in Florida, and that, also on the same day, Vince McMahon was named part of an advisory group created by Trump to devise a strategy in relaunching U.S. economy. In April 15, WWE announced a series of cuts and layoffs in response to the pandemic, including releasing a number of performers: Carl Anderson, Kurt Angle, Aiden English, Ike Epico, Luke Gallows, Kurt Hawkins, No Way Jose, Sarah Logan, Mike Kanellis, Maria Kanellis, Primo, Eric Rowan, Rusev, Leo Rush, Zack Ryder, Heath Slater, and Eric Young. 3 producers: Dave Finlay, Shane Helms, and Lance Storm, referee Mike Chioda, and multiple Performance Center trainees and staff. WWE executives also took a pay cut, and the company has also suspended construction on its new headquarters for at least 6 months. The firings caused significant backlash by fans, with Business Insider calling them livid. Both fans and several media outlets pointed out that while WWE claimed that these actions were necessary due to the economic impact of the coronavirus pandemic, the WWE also claimed to have substantial financial resources. Available cash and debt capacity currently total approximately $0.50 billion. DeSantis claimed WWE was essential, which meant that the company's revenues loss would be limited. In August 2020, WWE relocated from the Performance Center to Orlando's Amway Center for a long-term residency, broadcasting episodes of Raw, SmackDown, and pay-per-views through a virtual fan viewing experience called WWE Thunderdome. Inside the Thunderdome, drones, lasers, pyro, smoke, and projections were utilized to enhance the wrestlers' entrances on a level similar to that of pay-per-view productions pre-pandemic. Nearly 1,000 LED boards were installed to allow for rows and rows of virtual fans. It was free of charge for fans to virtually attend the events, though they had to reserve their virtual seat ahead of time. WWE remained at the Amway Center up through early December before relocating the Thunderdome to Tropicana Field in St. Petersburg, Florida. The Thunderdome relocated to Yuengling Center, located on the campus of the University of South Florida in Tampa, beginning with the April 12, 2021 episode of Raw. In October 2020, NXT events were relocated from Full Sail University to the Performance Center in a similar setup dubbed the Capitol Wrestling Center. It had many of the same features as the Thunderdome, but with a small crowd of select live fans included, in addition to the virtual fans. The name is also an homage to its predecessor, the Capital Wrestling Corporation. On May 21, WWE announced that they would be bringing back fans full-time, beginning with a 25-city tour, thus ending the Thunderdome residency. The July 16 episode of SmackDown Started was returned to the road, taking place at the Toyota Center in Houston, Texas in January 2021. WWE announced that WrestleMania 37, which was originally to be held in Inglewood, California on March 28, would be held at Raymond James Stadium in Tampa, Florida. WrestleMania's original location as a two-night event on April 10 and 11 and would have fans in attendance, though to a limited capacity. This marked was first event during the pandemic to have ticketed fans in attendance with a maximum of 25,000 spectators for each night with COVID-19 protocols in place. Also around this time, WWE announced that the WWE Network in the United States would become exclusively distributed by Peacock on March 18, 2021 ahead of Fastlane and WrestleMania 37. The merger of the WWE Network and Peacock did not affect the service outside of the United States. NXT was moved to a Tuesday night timeslot in 2021 and was rebooted as NXT2 later that year, reinstituting its original function as a developmental territory. The Performance Center became its permanent home base, replacing Full Sail. Maximum capacity crowds resumed and the Capitol Wrestling Center name was phased out. In February 2022, the 205 Live brand was dissolved and the 205 Live show was replaced by a new NXT show called Level Up. On February 24, 2022, WWE announced a partnership with On Location, a company known for providing premium hospitality experiences for marquee events. Through the partnership, spectators will have access to hospitality packages for its 5 biggest events, including WrestleMania, SummerSlam, Royal Rumble, Survivor Series, and Money in the Bank. The 2022 Money in the Bank was first event to offer the premium hospitality packages. These ticket and travel packages include premier seating, premium hospitality offerings, and meet and greets with current WWE wrestlers and legends. In June 17, 2022, amidst an investigation by WWE's board of directors into reported hush money paid to a former employee by Vince McMahon following an affair, Mr. McMahon stepped down as chairman and CEO of WWE and was replaced by his daughter, Stephanie McMahon, as the interim chairwoman of WWE. Despite the change, Vince McMahon came out on WWE SmackDown that night, opening the show with a brief speech, the highlights of which Then, Now, Forever, and most importantly Together was quoted by various news media as Vince letting people know that he was still in creative control from behind the scenes. On July 22, 2022, Vince McMahon officially announced his retirement on Twitter, stating, "At 77, time for me to retire. Thank you, WWE Universe. Then, Now, Forever, Together." Following Vince's retirement announcement, Stephanie McMahon was officially named chairwoman while she and Nick Khan were named co-CEOs of WWE. Triple H would take over as head of creative, while resuming his position as executive vice president of talent relations and later being promoted to chief content officer. Commentators have highlighted the significance of McMahon's retirement, saying that it marked the historic start of a new period in WWE's history. The 2022 SummerSlam event held on July 30, 2022, was the first WWE pay-per-view event to be held under the leadership of Stephanie McMahon and Triple H. In January 2023, Vince McMahon announced intentions to return to the company ahead of media rights negotiations. WWE's media rights with Fox and USA Network are set to expire in 2024. That same month, J.P. Morgan were hired to handle a possible sale of the company, with companies such as Comcast, owners of Universal and longtime partners of WWE, Fox Corp, broadcaster of SmackDown, Disney, owners of ESPN, Warner Bros., Discovery, broadcasters of rival promotion AEW, Netflix, Amazon, Endeavor Group Holdings, owners of UFC, and Liberty Media being in the speculation for buying the company, with CAA and Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund also on the list. On January 11, Stephanie McMahon resigned as chairwoman and co-CEO, with Vince McMahon being elected executive chairman of the board. Main article, list of current champions and with WWE and Universal Championships while maintaining their separate lineages are jointly defended across both brands as the undisputed WWE Universal Championship. Raw and SmackDown Tag Team Championships while maintaining their separate lineages are jointly defended across both brands as the undisputed WWE Tag Team Championship. The WWE Women's Tag Team Championship is defended across both brands. Raw SmackDown Stephen Championships. Main article, list of former championships and their accomplishments. Contracts. Main article, list of WWE personnel signs most of its talent to exclusive contracts, meaning talent can appear or perform only on WWE programming and events. They are not permitted to appear or perform for another promotion unless special arrangements are made beforehand. WWE keeps all wrestlers' salary, employment length, benefits, and all other contract details strictly private. Classifies its professional wrestlers as independent contractors and not as employees. A study by the University of Louisville Law Review found that after applying the Internal Revenue Service IRS 20-factor test, 16 factors clearly indicate that wrestlers are employees. However, as a result of WWE terming them as independent contractors, the wrestlers are denied countless benefits to which they would otherwise be entitled. In September 2020, WWE reportedly told wrestlers that they could no longer engage with outside third parties, such as Cameo, and claimed that the WWE owns the real names of talent, not just their character names. In December 2021, WWE revealed a new recruitment contract for athletes who are currently attending college. The NCAA-approved name, image, and likeness contracts are referred to by WWE as next-in-line agreements. Stock and corporate governance. On October 19, 1999, WWF, which had been owned previously by parent company Titan Sports, launched an initial public offering as a publicly traded company, trading on the New York Stock Exchange NYSE with the issuance of stock then valued at $172.50 million. The company has traded on the NYSE since its launch under ticker symbol WITH. Company has actively marketed itself as a publicly traded company through presentations at investor conferences and other investor relations initiatives. In June 2003, the company began paying a dividend on its shares of $0.04 per share. In June 2011, the company cut its dividend from $0.36 to $0.12. In 2014, concerns about the company's viability caused wide fluctuations in its share price. Current board of directors: Stephanie McMahon, chairwoman and co-CEO of Winnick Khan, co-CEO of Whipple. Triple H Levesque, Chief Content Officer of Main article, United States v. McMahon. During the ERS, Dr. George Zaharian was thought to have routinely distributed steroids and other drugs to WWF wrestlers, supposedly with the approval of WWF owner Vince McMahon. In 1993, McMahon was indicted in federal court after the steroid controversy engulfed the promotion, forcing him to temporarily cede control of the WWF to his wife Linda. The case went to trial in 1994, where McMahon himself was accused of distributing steroids to his wrestlers. One notable prosecution witness was Nail's real name, Kevin Wachals, a former WWF performer who had been fired after a violent confrontation with McMahon. Nails testified that McMahon had ordered him to use steroids, but his credibility was called into question during his testimony as he repeatedly stated that he hated McMahon. The jury would later acquit McMahon of the charges, and he resumed his role in the day-to-day operations of the WWF. In 1996, Titan Sports, the parent company of the World Wrestling Federation, sued World Championship Wrestling WCW over WCW, implying that Scott Hall and Kevin Nash, Razor Ramon, and Diesel were invading WCW on the WWF's behalf. This led to a series of lawsuits filed by both companies as the Monday Night War heated up. The lawsuit went on for years, ending with a settlement in 2000. One of the terms gave then WWF the right to bid on assets if the company were liquidated. AOL Time Warner, the then parent company of WCW, canceled television shows in March 2001 and sold the company assets to the WWF in May 23, 2012. Total Nonstop Action Wrestling (TNA), now Impact Wrestling, sued former employee Brian Wittenstein and WWE. The suit alleged that Wittenstein violated a non-disclosure agreement and shared confidential information with the WWE, which represented a comparative advantage in negotiating with wrestling talent. Under contract with TNA, he was subsequently hired by WWE, after which TNA asserted that Wittenstein violated the agreement by downloading confidential TNA trade secrets and providing that information to WWE. Although WWE fired Wittenstein and alerted TNA officials as to the disclosure of the information, TNA claimed that WWE had access to the information for 3 weeks prior to disclosure, and in this time, the WWE used secret contract information and attempted to poach their talent in violation of Tennessee's Uniform Trade Secrets Act. The lawsuit was formally withdrawn without prejudice by the plaintiff, TNA, on January 15, 2013, under a notice of voluntary non-suit which offers no ruling on the merits of the suit and allows TNA to potentially refile at a later date. In January 11, 2022, Major League Wrestling filed an antitrust lawsuit against WWE, accusing them of interfering in television and streaming deals and poaching talent. Through the lawsuit, it was disclosed that a streaming deal with Fox Corporation-owned Tubi was terminated due to WWE allegedly threatening to pull their programming from the sibling Fox broadcast network. The suit also alleges that WWE pressured Vice TV to withdraw from negotiations with Mull. In May 23, 1999, Owen Hart fell to his death in Kansas City, Missouri during the Over the Edge pay-per-view event in a stunt that went wrong. WWF broke kayfabe by having television commentator Jim Ross repeatedly tell those watching live on pay-per-view that what had just transpired was not a wrestling angle or storyline and that Hart was hurt badly, emphasizing the seriousness of the situation. While several attempts to revive him were made, he died from his injuries. The cause of death was later revealed to be internal bleeding from blunt force trauma. The WWF management controversially chose to continue the event. Later, Jim Ross announced the death of Hart to the home viewers during the pay-per-view, but not to the crowd in the arena. While the show did go on, it has never been released commercially by WWF Home Video. In 2014, 15 years after his death, the WWE Network aired the event for the first time. A small photo tribute is shown before the start, informing fans that Hart died during the original broadcast. All footage of Hart was edited out of the event. The statement reads, "In memory of Owen Hart, May 7, 1965, May 23, 1999, who accidentally passed away during this broadcast." 4 weeks after the event, the Hart family sued the WWF over how dangerous and poorly planned the stunt was and that the harness system was defective. After over a year and a half into the case, a settlement was reached on November 2, 2000, which saw the WWF give the Hart family $1 million. In April 2000, USA Networks had filed a lawsuit against World Wrestling Federation Entertainment, Inc. in a bid to keep Raw is War and all WWF programming after the WWF opened up a bidding a month prior. Viacom's proposed bid included a $30 million to $50 million equity investment in the company and carriage on broadcast, billboards, and radio of both wrestling matches, along with the then-launched XFLIN. June 27, 2000, the Delaware Supreme Court ruled in favor of the WWF. The next day, Viacom won the rights to all WWF programming for $12.60 million, including Raw is War on Spike TV, a revamped Sunday Night Heat on MTV, and retained SmackDown on UPN after the merger with CBS in 1999. The lawsuit centered on USA's contention that it did not have to match every aspect of a Viacom offer to satisfy a right of first refusal clause in its contract that allowed its deal with the WWF to continue. In 2005, was programming excluding SmackDown moved back to USA Network, now owned by Universal, and maintains its relationship to this day. In 1994, Titan Sports had entered into an agreement with the Worldwide Fund for Nature, also trademarked WWF, an environmental organization, regarding Titan's use of the WWF acronym, which both organizations had been using since at least March 1979. Under the agreement, Titan had agreed to cease using the written acronym WWF in connection with its wrestling promotion, and to minimize, though not eliminate, spoken uses of WWF on its broadcasts, particularly in scripted comments. In exchange, that environmental group and its national affiliates agreed to drop any pending litigation against Titan, and agreed not to challenge Titan's use of the full World Wrestling Federation name or the promotion's then current logo. In 2000, the Worldwide Fund for Nature sued World Wrestling Federation Entertainment, Inc. in the United Kingdom, alleging various violations of the 1994 agreement. The Court of Appeal agreed that the promotion company had violated the 1994 agreement, particularly in regards to merchandising. The last televised event to market the WWF logo was the UK-based pay-per-view Insurrection 2002. On May 5, 2002, the company launched its Get the F Out marketing campaign and changed all references on its website from WWF to WWE, while switching the URL from Wacom to Wecom. The next day, a press release announced the official name change from World Wrestling Federation Entertainment, Inc. to World Wrestling Entertainment, Inc., or WWE, and the change was publicized later that day during a telecast of Raw, which was broadcast from the Hartford Civic Center in Hartford, Connecticut. Following the name change, the use of the WWF scratch logo became prohibited on all WWE properties. Additionally, past references to the WWF trademark and initials in specified circumstances became censored. Despite the litigation, WWE was still permitted use of the original WWF logo, which was used from 1979 through 1994 and had been explicitly exempted under the 1994 agreement, as well as the similar new WWF Generation logo, which was used from 1994 through 1998. Furthermore, the company could still make use of the full World Wrestling Federation and World Wrestling Federation Entertainment names without consequence. In 2003, WWE won a limited decision to continue marketing certain classic video games from THQ and Jakks Pacific that contained the WWF scratch logo. However, the packaging on those games had all WWF references replaced with West. Starting with the 1000th episode of Raw in July 2012. The WWF scratch logo is no longer censored in archival footage due to WWE reaching a new settlement with the Worldwide Fund for Nature. In addition, the F in WWF initials are no longer censored when spoken or when written in plain text in archival footage. Since then, full-length matches and other segments featuring the WWF initials and scratch logo have been added to the WWE website and the WWE Classics on Demand and eventually the WWE Network service. This also includes WWE home video releases since October 2012, starting with the re-release of Brock Lesnar, Here Comes the Pain. Although the WWF initials and logo are no longer censored in archival footage, WWE cannot use the WWF initials or logo in any new, original footage, packaging, or advertising. Harry/Grievous and Roderick Khan filed a lawsuit against WWE in June 2003 due to the music being used for its programming and without consent or payment. It also asserted a violation of the rights to original music used by ECW that WWE had been using during the Invasion storyline of 2001. The case was resolved on both sides with a settlement that saw WWE purchase the catalog outright in January or in 1993. Jim Hellwig, known in the WWF as the Ultimate Warrior, legally changed his name to the Millennium Warrior. This one-word name appears on all legal documents pertaining to Warrior, and his children carry the Warrior name as their legal surname. Warrior and the WWF engaged in a series of lawsuits and legal actions in 1996 and 1998, where both parties sought a declaration that they owned the characters, Warrior and Ultimate Warrior, under both contract and copyright law. The court ruled that Warrior was legally entitled to use the gimmick, costuming, face paint designs, and mannerisms of the Warrior character. In September 27, 2005, WWE released a DVD documentary focusing on Warrior's retrospective wrestling career, titled The Self-Destruction of the Ultimate Warrior. The DVD featured clips of his more notable feuds and matches along with commentary from WWE stars past and present, most of which are unflattering. The DVD has provoked some controversy due to Warrior's allegations of libel by WWE against him. Originally, Warrior was asked to help with the production of the DVD, but as he refused to work with WWE, there had been some resulting animosity between Warrior and WWE over the Warrior claiming bias on the part of WWE. In January 2006, Warrior filed another lawsuit against WWE in an Arizona court over the depiction of his wrestling career in The Self-Destruction of the Ultimate Warrior DVD. On September 18, 2009, Warrior's lawsuit in Arizona was dismissed. Warrior returned to WWE to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. During his induction, he mentioned that WWE should create an award to honor those behind the scenes called the Jimmy Miranda Award, named after a longtime WWE employee who died. Warrior died 3 days after being inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. WWE decided to create the Warrior Award, an award for people who embodied the spirit of the Ultimate Warrior. The award was later given to Connor Mahalik, a child who died from cancer, Joan London, a journalist who was diagnosed with cancer, and Eric Legrand, a former college football player who became a quadriplegic after an in-game injury. In October 2017, WWE used the tagline "Unleash Your Warrior" when promoting Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Since Warrior's death, WWE has been accused of whitewashing and ignoring Warrior's bigoted and controversial past comments. Pro Wrestling Torch described Warrior in real life having made public vile, bigoted, hateful, judgmental comments, citing as an example that regarding Bobby Heenan's cancer diagnosis, Warrior said, "Karma is just a beautiful thing to behold." Vice wrote that completely whitewashing his past and elevating his likeness to a bland symbol of corporate altruism is shockingly tone-deaf, especially for a company that's at least outwardly trying to appear progressive, inclusive, and diverse. Under Section 9.13 of WWE's booking contract, commonly known as the Morals Clause, the company has a zero-tolerance policy involving domestic violence, child abuse, and sexual assault. Upon arrest and conviction for such crimes, a WWE talent shall be immediately suspended and their contract terminate. In May 10, 1983, Nancy Argentino, the girlfriend of Jimmy Snuka, then 39 years old, died in their hotel room hours after Snuka defeated Jose Estrada at a WWF-TV taping at the Lehigh County Agricultural Hall in Allentown, Pennsylvania. Snuka was arrested 32 years later on September 1, 2015, and charged with third-degree murder and involuntary manslaughter for Argentino's death. This eventually led WWE to suspend his Legends contract, a long-term deal to make infrequent, non-wrestling appearances, and removed his Hall of Fame page from its website. However, Snuka never stood trial due to his poor health, and he died on January 15, or in June 2003. Eddie Fata, then known as Jamal and later Umaga, was released after his involvement in a bar fight in the aftermath of Chris Benoit's murder of his wife and son, along with his suicide in June 2007. The WWE removed mentions of Benoit in its broadcasts and its merchandise in November 30, 2012. Tom Latimer, then known as Kenneth Cameron, was charged with battery of a law enforcement officer and disorderly intoxication in St. Petersburg, Florida, which led him being released from his NXT contract by the WWE. Latimer had previously been arrested in January 2011 for driving under the influence. In December 10, 2017, Rich Swann was arrested in Gainesville, Florida on charges of battery and kidnapping. False imprisonment. The victim was identified as his wife, Vanara Riggs. According to the arrest report, Swann and Riggs had gotten into an argument over Swann critiquing Riggs's performance at a show that night. When Riggs tried to get away from Swann, witnesses state that he grabbed her in a headlock and dragged her back into his car. WWE suspended Swann indefinitely and was released on February 15, 2018, he was originally scheduled to face Drew Bullock in a match to determine the #1 contender to the Cruiserweight Championship, Enzo Amore, the following night on Raw, but the match was cancelled in light of his domestic violence arrest in January 22, 2018. The Phoenix Police Department confirmed that Eric Arndt Enzo Amore was under investigation for an alleged sexual assault that was reported to authorities in October 2017. Later that day, Arndt was suspended by WWE due to violating their zero-tolerance policy for matters involving sexual harassment and sexual assault. WWE released a statement indicating that he would remain suspended until the matter was resolved. In an interview on January 23, a woman accused Arndt of raping her in a Phoenix, Arizona, hotel room on October 19, 2017. As a result, his scheduled title defense against Cedric Alexander at the Royal Rumble was cancelled. Arndt was fired from WWE the next day and the title was vacated. On Twitter, Arndt fully and unequivocally denied the allegations against him. On May 16, 2018, the Phoenix Police Department ceased their investigation due to insufficient evidence. Starting in 2014, numerous former WWE talent filed multiple lawsuits against WWE alleging that WWE did not protect and hid information from their talent about concussions and CTE. The former talent claimed physical and mental health issues as a result of physical trauma they experienced in WWE. The lawsuits were filed by attorney Konstantin Kiros. U.S. District Judge Vanessa Lynn Bryant dismissed many of the lawsuits in September 2018. In September 2020, the lawsuits were dismissed by the United States Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit. The Supreme Court of the United States subsequently declined to hear the case in April. Main article, WWE in Saudi Arabia. Events promoted in Saudi Arabia by WWE have been subjected to criticism due to allegations of sports washing. WWE has been accused of contributing to Saudi Arabia's discrimination of LGBT people and women by holding events in the country. Whose relation with Saudi Arabia has been condemned by activist groups such as Code Pink and several politicians. Shown of the first allegations against Vince McMahon was made on April 3, 1992, when Rita Chatterton, a former referee noted for her stint as Rita Marie in the WWF in the ERS and for being the first female referee in the WWF possibly in professional wrestling history, made an appearance on Geraldo Rivera's show Now It Can Be Told. She claimed that on July 16, 1986, McMahon tried to force her to perform oral sex on him in his limousine. When she refused, he raped her. Former wrestler Leonard Inzitari has corroborated Chatterton's allegation. Several years later, on February 1, 2006, McMahon was accused of sexual harassment by a worker at a tanning bar in Boca Raton, Florida. At first, the charge appeared to be discredited because McMahon was in Miami for the 2006 Royal Rumble at the time. It was soon clarified that the alleged incident was reported to police on the day of the Rumble, but actually took place the day before. On March 25, it was reported that no charges would be filed against McMahon as a result of the investigation. Both Chatterton and the 2006 accuser would eventually file civil sex abuse lawsuits against McMahon in late or in 2014. Activist investor Emmanuel Lemelson stated that he believed the company had made material misrepresentations in its financial reporting and called for new leadership or a sale of the company. Lemelson's analysis was credited with an $800 million drop in the market capitalization of the stock in April 2022. The WWE board began investigating a $3 million hush money settlement that McMahon paid over an alleged affair with a former employee of the company. The investigation also revealed other non-disclosure agreements related to misconduct claims by other women in the company against McMahon and executive John Laurinaitis, totaling $12 million. This eventually led to McMahon retiring from all of his positions on July 22, 2022, and a change in leadership of the WWE for the first time in 40 years, since Earth Company would eventually report $19.60 million in unrecorded payments made by Vince McMahon between 2006 and 2022. Terminology. WWE uses a variety of special terms in promoting their product, such as describing the wrestling industry as sports entertainment. The fan base is referred to as the WWE Universe for the main roster shows. while for NXT shows, they are also referred to as the NXT Universe. Main roster wrestlers are designated a WWE superstar, while those in NXT are also referred to as an NXT superstar. Retired wrestlers are described as WWE legends, while those who have been inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame are called Hall of Famers. Partnerships. Though an infrequent occurrence, during its history WWE has worked with other wrestling promotions in collaborative efforts during the ERS, and early ERS. WWE had working relationships with the Japanese New Japan Pro Wrestling (NJPW), Universal Wrestling Federation (UWF), Universal Lucha Libre (FULL), and the Mexican Universal Wrestling Association (UWA). These working relationships led to the creations of the WWF World Martial Arts, Light Heavyweight, and Intercontinental Tag Team Championships during the period of WWE had talent exchange agreements with the United States and Japanese independent companies Smoky Mountain Wrestling (SMW), Super World of Sports (SWS), WAR, and the United States Wrestling Association (USWA). In 1997, the company did business with Mexico's AAA promotion, bringing in a number of AAA wrestlers for the Royal Rumble event and namesake match. In 1997, WWE would also do business with Japan's Michinoku Pro Wrestling (MPW), bringing in MPW talent to compete in the company's light heavyweight division, and in their 1997 light heavyweight championship tournament. In 2015, WWE entered a partnership with Evolve, a U.S. independent promotion that WWE uses as a scouting group for potential signees for the NXT brand. In 2020, WWE would purchase Evolve for an undisclosed amount. In 2016, WWE partnered with England's Progress Wrestling, with Progress hosting qualifying matches for was Cruiserweight Classic. In 2017, Progress talent would participate in the WWE United Kingdom Championship Tournament and at was WrestleMania Access events. 3 years later, in 2020, Progress programming began airing on the WWE Network. In 2017, WWE partnered with Scotland's Insane Championship Wrestling (ICW), with some ICW talent appearing in the WWE United Kingdom Championship Tournament and at was WrestleMania Access events. In 2017, WWE explored a deal to bring ICW programming onto the WWE Network. ICW programming began airing on the WWE Network in 2018. WWE partnered with Germany's West Side Extreme Wrestling WA. In October 2018, WWE hosted German tryouts at the WA Wrestling Academy. In 2020, WA programming began airing on the WWE Network. Throughout the company's history, WWE has had past arrangements with independent companies from the contiguous United States, such as Ohio Valley Wrestling, and Puerto Rico, such as the International Wrestling Association, with the companies serving as developmental territories. Talent Wellness Program. The World Wrestling Federation had a drug testing policy in place as early as 1987, initially run by an in-house administrator. In 1991, wrestlers were subjected to independent testing for anabolic steroids for the first time. The independent testing was ceased in 1996, being deemed too expensive as the company was going through financial duress at the time as a result of their competitors, World Championship Wrestling, being so overwhelmingly more popular and hurting the federations. Busson saw the Talent Wellness Program as a comprehensive drug, alcohol, and cardiac screening program initiated in February 2006, 3 months after the sudden death of one of their highest profile and most popular talents, Eddie Guerrero, who died at 38 years old. The policy tests for recreational drug use and abuse of prescription medication, including anabolic steroids, under the guidelines of the policy. Talent is also tested annually for pre-existing or developing cardiac issues. The drug testing is handled by Aegis Sciences Corporation. The cardiac evaluations are handled by New York Cardiology Associates PC. The wellness policy requires that all talent under contract to WWE who regularly perform in-ring services as a professional sports entertainer undergo testing. However, part-time competitors are exempt from testing after the double murder and suicide committed by one of its performers, Chris Benoit, with a possible link to steroid abuse encouraged by WWE. The United States House Committee on Oversight and Government Reform requested that WWE turn over any material regarding its talent wellness policy in August 2007. WWE and its employees defended the program in the wake of several busts of illegal pharmacy that linked WWE performers to steroid purchases even after the policy was put into place. 10 professional wrestlers were suspended for violating the wellness policy after reports emerged they were all customers of Signature Pharmacy in Orlando, Florida, according to a statement attributed to WWE attorney Jerry McDevitt. An 11th wrestler was later added to the suspension list because of the wellness policy. Physicians were able to diagnose one of its performers with a heart ailment that would otherwise likely have gone unnoticed until it was too late. In August 2007, then reigning United States champion Montelvante Buse Porter, real name Hassan Assad, was diagnosed with Wolff-Parkinson-White syndrome, which can be potentially fatal if gone undiagnosed. The ailment was discovered while Assad was going through a routine wellness policy checkup in September 13, 2010. WWE updated their list of banned substances to include muscle relaxers.